In this episode, Seoul unleashes a massive solar storm, bringing the promise of northern lights to all of the United States, and a show many will not soon forget. On May 9th, 2024, media of all kinds around the world was abuzz about NOAA releasing a solar storm warning of G4 forecasted for the following day. That had not been done since 2004. I had had a gut feeling a week and a half before that I needed to be up in Minnesota the week of May 10th, but that being Mother's Day weekend, I had to forego those plans. I had been watching the developing storm all week as the sun sent wave after wave of coronal mass ejections at us, 8 in total. My little group of photog friends started making plans. We eventually decided on our new dark sky location, a conservation area west of St. Louis. Starting at 6 a.m. on the 10th, my phone began sending solar storm alerts at least every 30 minutes. By 10 a.m., I got an alert stating that the CME had arrived. I knew that the satellites giving that warning were still quite a ways from Earth, and we still had some time before it arrived. But it was only 10 a.m. There were still 11 hours to go before it would begin to get dark here, and I became disheartened to learn that Europe was going to get the show. Again. Still, the alerts came. All day I wished work was over so that I could hit the road. Finally, it was time. I met up with my chasing partner, Chasing the Milk, and we headed out of town. Shortly after leaving, I got an alert stating that the storm was being upgraded to G5 status, and I started to get really excited. A G5 level storm had not been seen since October of 2003, a storm I vaguely recall. Nothing could have prepared me for what would happen in just a few short hours. By 9 p.m. we had arrived and were set up, just sitting around and chatting. I started to see these red splotches in the sky, but thought that my eyes were playing tricks on me. A few minutes later, I was seeing them again, but this time I asked if anybody else was seeing them.
Holy shit. You can. Huh? Like this on. What? How was your RV? Are you kidding me? Oh, this didn't think about it. That's a confused thing, but that's the thinking. That's the shame. Yeah, right on the red line. Oh, I'm the same. I think I'm seeing pink. I think I'm seeing too, but I don't see anything in cyanide. Cyanide wouldn't sell the pink. Well, we sell it. It was just like flashing it did last time. So then it did look. I don't know why. My app says it's right over top of us.
Look! Look!
Is it happening?
I think that's it.
What?
Right next to the Big Dipper. Right above us.
Like 2 shafts.
There's...
Oh my god!
Look at them all!
Oh shit!
Holy shit!
Oh.
That must have been the moment that the sun had gone down enough, because suddenly the skies lit up with green, red, pink, white, and purple. There was a mad scramble to get our cameras up and running. Luckily, I had started my GoPro as soon as it was set up, and it caught everything, and ran until the sun came back up. After I got my Nikon running, I found that I had literally gone mad. It was like totality all over again, only 1,000 times worse. I wanted to call and text people, but I couldn't figure out how to get my phone to work. It was like I'd never seen a cell phone before. Finally, the brain fog lifted and I was able to function again. The lights stretched out in all directions, covering 90% of the sky. Now, I don't have a point-and-shoot camera, so I had to use the camera on my phone to capture what I was seeing. Unfortunately, quality is not what I strive to display on this channel, but I'll make an exception this time. For 7 hours we marveled at what we were seeing. The initial outburst lasted an hour, but the lights remained naked eye visible for us on the horizon all night. At 2 a.m., a second outburst occurred and a brilliant blue fireball was seen. I was lucky enough to catch it just before the shutter closed on my camera. At 3:30 a.m., the final outburst occurred. For me, this one was the most spectacular. Great pillars of light towered over us, clearly visible, and lasted about 30 minutes. By 5 a.m., the sun was starting to come up, and the lights faded into the coming dawn, leaving us all in awe. Some of the group had never seen the lights before. I was so glad they got to experience this without having to travel more than an hour from home. On the 11th, we watched the forecast again. The University of Alaska forecast the night before had been dead on. And on the 11th, the website had gone down due to the amount of traffic of people trying to see what was going to happen. We were forced to go with the NOAA forecast, which showed an identical forecast as the night before. I had my doubts though. In spite of my misgivings and only 3 hours of sleep, we all journeyed back out in hopes of a repeat showing. It was a long wait. Some people, who had missed the show on the 10th, found out where we were going, and the lot was full of people. And we were growing concerned that the rangers might throw us out. My group is permitted by the Conservation Department to be on site after dark, but we're only permitted to have 10 or less people in the group. I think there were at least 20 people there that night. And I heard that our astronomy site in St. Charles County had a crowd of over 600 people. That rivaled the so-called Christmas star and the Neowise appearance. There was talk amongst us about how long we were going to have to wait. And one of us predicted that the lights would show up at 11:11. And would you believe it? The lights began to be visible at 11:07. And by 11:11, we had a brief outburst. By 1 a.m., most of us were ready to go. The ever-present glow on the horizon the night before was not to be seen this night. Slowly we packed up and returned home. The forecasts were still calling for activity the following night, but I knew we had seen all we were going to see this time around. The Aurora storm of 10 May 2024 had been viewable in all 50 states. Yes, even Florida and Hawaii. It was a truly historic event, and perhaps even the strongest solar storm event of the modern era. Sunspot region 3664, which was responsible for sending the CMEs to Earth, would continue to send out flare after flare as it left the Earth strike zone, even throwing out a show-stopping X 8.82 flare as it rotated out of view. Never in my wildest dreams did I think that I would ever witness a G5 level solar storm, and definitely never in mid-Missouri. At the time of the recording of this video, another monster solar region is beginning to rotate onto the east limb of the Sun, and has already sent out a series of X-class flares. Could we get another round of fire in the sky? Only time will tell. Until next time, clear skies.